All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak on Trust TV, reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. Now, we will be taking a look at the dailies on Daybreak, and we'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, where we have the lead story talk about yet another increase. It says, cooking gas price hits 1,200 naira per kg. With the riders, marketers blame supply disruption, say further hike likely. Nigerians may resort to using firewood, according to expert. FG working with NLNG to ramp up supply, official, on page 4. Now, above the lead story, will Liberians elect another female president today? And that's on page 10. We find out what are the prospects. Now, fuel scarcity as stations close in Lagos, Kano, and others on page 20. Security operatives kill 67 bandits, rescue 20 victims in Bauchi on page 4. Below the pictorial there basically shows you demonstrators in Germany and also Buenos Aires, where they are protesting for and against the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Also, you have below that Tinubu's economic policies going awry. Financial Times. Ask President to stop announcing plans without implementation idea. And that's on page 19. These are the main stories on Daily Trust this morning.
Let's take a look at the Punch. The lead story says federal government denies subsidy return. More fuel stations are short. The Reuters attached to the story. It says NNPCL blames pockets of fuel queues on road delays. The other writer says 25 refinery licenses idle over subsidies, says Kyari. Get details of this on page 19. Above the masthead, we have Israeli-Hamas conflict. Federal government warns pilgrims against illegal trips, and Lagos suspends airlifting. It says 310 pilgrims evacuated from Jordan. A death toll nears 1,500. Details of this conflict on page 2. Then 4 consortia to fix dilapidated pipelines. Page 20 has more, and that's coming from Meli Kyari there. And let's take a look at the bottom strip. We have a pictorial of the policeman who was in court yesterday. Dambi was in court, and then the picture of the deceased lawyer who was allegedly killed by this police man. And then it says Lagos MBA welcomes death sentence for killer cop. Okay, details of that story is on page 4 and 5. And then we have below that, domestic airlines demand jet fuel import license and Forex. Page 20 has more details of that story. And then concerns as commercial sex workers invade Lagos malls, lure men. All right, 4 and 5 has details of that story. And then the last one we can see in the front page of the Punch newspaper says Aiyedatiwa drops a suit against Ondo Assembly and Akeredolu. Page 8 of the Punch newspaper has details of that story, and that's all we can take on the front page of the Punch this morning.
And on Vanguard newspaper, the lead story has Kika that says recall of ambassadors, envoys stranded as FG food drags on implementation. It has above the masthead also Warikans Davido organizers at war over non-appearance. JAPA FG OK's engagement of retired health workers on a contract basis. You also have petrol subsidy not back. That's according to Kyari, NNPCL GCEO. Below the pictorials, Israel intensifies attack and forces total blockade of Gaza. These are the main stories on the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
Let's quickly take stories from The Guardian. Let's take this one that says scarcity of diagnostic services cripples cancer care in Southeast States. Page 6 has details of that story. And then there's an infograph here. You might want to get more details. And then anxiety in Benue as Cameroon sheds excess water from Lagdo Dam. Page 29. And the Guardian newspaper has details of that. And then Shiites, PFN differ as Hamas-Israel conflict drags into third day. Page 2 has more. Marketers grown seek subsidized FX and federal government offers 90 import licenses. Pages 8, I beg your pardon, 6 of the Guardian has details of that. And then policeman to die by hanging for killing Lagos pregnant lawyer. That you can find in the Guardian newspaper. And that's about the stories we'll be taking from the front page of The Guardian this morning. And now let's get into the analysis now. And of course, there are a lot of things to unpack from the national dailies. And we have our reviewer here in the studio, Dr. Theophilus Abba. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to you. I hope you didn't get any problem scouting for fuel this morning?
Well, I think since weekend, we began to experience fuel scarcity in Abuja. You know, you drive to your normal petrol station and you discover that the gates are locked. And I had to buy what you call the black market on Sunday.
Selling at exorbitant prices.
Of course. You know, I had to buy it because I needed to move. If I didn't need to move, I would just have not gone there. It's something that we didn't expect. After the removal of subsidy and the price has been hiked, we thought that this product should be available. You know, but apparently there are still some other hitches.
But that is not the only problem we're facing with, you know, as some of the byproducts of petroleum. Now, cooking gas price hits 1,200 naira per litre. Now, the marketers are blaming supply disruptions and they say further hike is likely. What's your take on this?
Well, I think the marketers, you know, the value chain, you know, they should be able to predict, you know, what could happen. From the beginning of the year, you should be able to say, okay, this could happen, that could happen, and these are the things we need to do. You know, because many Nigerians have migrated from kerosene to cooking gas because of the massive campaign that government has embarked upon. And we're thinking that the cooking gas will be available in such a manner that, you know, it will be difficult to access. But now, at the point it was even difficult, there was a time that you have to queue up for, hours to get cooking gas. The price went up, it came down, and we thought that, oh, maybe permanently it is, at an affordable rate. But the excuses that we keep hearing, you know, the supply chain and this and that, these are things that ought to be taken care of. Because this affects the masses. Even in rural areas now, people want to use gas because firewood is becoming even expensive.
Yes. You
know, and firewood is not is contrary to our design for climate compliance way of doing things. So I'm surprised that at this point, you know, 1,200 is about 100% hike. Because the last time we bought cooking gas, it was about 600 and something naira, you know, per kg. Nigerians
were happy that the prices were reducing.
At the point, we're happy that it went down, but then to be hiked by, 100%, I think it's unfair. You know, it's very, very unfair.
And it appears that there's a lot of inconsistency with information. Each time we see this increase and so on. So, for instance, with the petrol, for instance, yesterday we had the NNPC GCOs deny any increase or any return in the payment of fuel subsidy, and also at the same time at the pump we're also seeing an increase of 625 naira.
Yes.
You know, I'm not sure if many Nigerians have noticed it yet. But
no, some are selling for 720, according to reports this month.
I bought at 800. You know, that was black market anyway. And then when I went to the petrol station, I bought at 625.
what's really responsible for the discordant tunes here? You know, and the resultant impact on the pump price eventually?
I'm feeling that even as at now, I don't think the government has got it right. You know, when you talk about, you know, what to do when the petroleum subsidy was removed. You know, you see, because if you remove the subsidy, you know, like some persons have said, subsidy is just one thing. What of the supply chain? What of the exchange rate? You understand? Now, we were thinking that government will emphasize, you know, revitalization of our own refineries so that there will be local production. I don't know. We'll say this again and again and again. Because as long as we depend on imported petroleum product, and then we need to source this at the foreign exchange rate, you know, there will be ups and down in the prices. But the duty of government is to create a buffer, you know, to say, well, the majority of Nigerians are using this product. The majority of Nigerians, they live, you know, their lives can go the other way without this product. So there must be a way of saying, okay, this thing must be available. And it's not something that will be done on a day-to-day thing. It's something that has to do with a long-term, minimum of medium-term plan. You can forecast. In November, in October, what happens every year? The factories become more active. If they are more active, will the price of crude oil go up? If the price of crude oil goes up, what do we do?
Again,
you know, so all these things are not done.
That should happen.
They are also happen done.
So in that sense, then, do you then agree with the Financial Times statement? It says Tinubu's economic policy is going awry. It's asking the president to stop announcing plans without implementation ideas.
Yes, I think it's a very great idea, because I remember when Tinubu came up with removal of subsidy and collapsing the exchange rate, Financial Times praised him. I remember I read that piece, and I said, okay, why would you just praise this person? But even then, that article stated specifically that this is just, you know, the beginning. You know, that there are other things that ought to be done. There are other economic policies, there are other monetary policies that ought to be put in place. It's not like being say, it's not just saying, no, I'm courageous, you know, I cancel subsidy, I collapse the naira. You see, other things must follow. You know, what about the supply? You must deal with supply. You must deal with the exchange rate. You must deal with transportation. You know, there are a whole lot of things that you need to do with. Then you must deal with the capacity of Nigeria to purchase these things. Do we have that capacity? Do we have that purchasing power to get these things? You know, if you say cooking gas is 1,002 per kg, it's fine. You are just hacking the price. But can the ordinary person pay 1,200 per kg to buy these guys to use for cooking? You know, it's a question that you must answer. And what others do in other society, what they do is okay, we have to enhance the capacity of Nigeria, of the people. You know, I remember during the COVID-19, Americans, you know, I mean, transfer certain amount of dollars to everybody's account. You know, every month you're getting some amount. In the UK, the government took over the payment of some salaries, you know, because the people must live. And if you are a government, you must ensure that people live. It's not like you sit in the villa and you close your eyes, you say, well, leave them to their God. We know we have God, but I don't say wanted to be a president. The president has to ensure that the people live, the people survive. It's not like you're going to work for them. You must put food on their table, but there must be an atmosphere that will enable people to survive, and that is what we are not seeing in Nigeria.
Okay.
Like, you see, when Tinubu came, he said he was going to ensure that there's a living wage in Nigeria. But do you know that when Labour threatened to go on strike on the 3rd, and there was that meeting, even the committee to discuss the new minimum wage had not been set up. I don't know if you read the story.
Yes, we did.
You see, you've been talking about minimum wage or living wage, which is better than minimum wage. Minimum wage is just, okay, take this, what we can give you. Living wage is, okay, this money can take you home. you can survive on this money on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. So you don't get anything less than what you can. That's the living wage. If you promise, living wage, why have you not done anything since June, July, August, September? 4 months. No committee was set up. It was only when Labour threatened to go on strike that I now began to talk about living wage. The same to the CNG buses that we're talking about.
So can we link this down to speaking about Tinubu? Tinubu appoints Fela Duro-Toye for others in his media team. This is found on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. Speaking about appointments and then pointing to the state governors that we're having a lot of appointments, and it could lead to increase in government expenditure and spendings, which we're trying to save a lot of money. What would you say to this new appointment and maybe further appointment that we might expect in the coming weeks or months?
Well, I don't think there's anything so wrong with appointments. You see, appointment is just to satisfy the yearnings of the persons who help government, who help the Tinubu administration to go to power. It's political. It's okay, you help us to do this, take this, take that. But even that money, what you pay them, is not what I'm talking about. A whole lot of money, is being misappropriated. Money is wasted in other areas, not just that's why I'm not really bothered about.
So is it more like a poverty alleviation scheme now?
Well, perhaps. I think somebody alluded to that it could be like a way of enhancing people's earnings. But the business of running the country, to me, is much more serious than appointment. You can appoint anybody. We have seen in this country where even state government, they did it. They will say, okay, this is our traditional ruler, give us names. And the names of all traditional rulers are on the payroll of the Minister of Education. They get salaries every month just to ensure that people got money. But the important thing is that, service delivery, as services being delivered, is the government conscious of the fact that people need to survive? Maybe because I'm not in government.
All right.
But I feel that consciousness is not there. The appointment is just a sheet of paper, take, and then you start collecting some money. But then there's much more work to do. When you say you are in government.
There's a story here also that I would like to pick your thoughts on, which is the one that says Tinubu pledges 500,000 jobs as Ajaokuta Steel nears completion, and that's on the Guardian newspaper. I know you've done a lot of work around the Ajaokuta Steel. What's your take on this?
Well, when I read the story, actually there's nothing really new, because that project had been about 98% completed since the 90s, since the era of IBB. The completion rate was about 98%. It was just a little work to do, to actually begin. Actually they were producing pellets and some other things at Ajaokuta. They have a training institute which is very, very effective, and they have a lot of facility, infrastructure to do a whole lot of things. And that 98% has been the literature. If you read the literature of Ajaokuta, it's not new.
It's been there for decades, for more than 3 decades.
What we need now is that political will, to do what is needed to be done, to ensure that this Ajaokuta, begins to function effectively. In the maybe in the 80s, Ajaokuta was very, very active. It employed a lot of people. People were leaving their jobs in other parts of Nigeria to go to Ajaokuta to work. I remember that because one of my age mates, his father was working in some big companies, I think around Sokoto. He had to come to Ajaokuta to work, and so many people were working. Ajaokuta was a huge community, and a lot of activities were going on. Suddenly, because of policy somersaults.
So those activities were going on in other sub-plans of the facility.
So if you say 500,000 jobs, I think we can even do much more if you consider the value chain. Because it's not only the production of steel. A lot of activities will have to come. Transportation sector will come in. Even the storage, then those who sell food, all sorts of artisans, they will just come there. So it is much more than 500,000 jobs, because the factory alone, you know, can mop up a lot of unemployed youth. And apart from mopping them, it used to be a training ground, you know, where people learn a lot of skills and go and set up their own businesses.
Just like the
so
government.
I just hope that because Tinubu has done something that is quite, I mean, that I like. He appointed the Minister of Steel. And if you look at it now, apart from the Ajaokuta steel, there is no other steel that is under government control. Every other steel is under some private ventures, you know. So if maybe creating, I don't know, it's not a commission anyway, but it may say, okay, let's see how other steel factories work in Nigeria. But the main job for the minister is to see that Ajaokuta performs. So he has to put on his thinking cap. They have to do a whole lot of things. And I think because he's the son of the soil, you know, he should be able to do a lot of work to bring Ajaokuta. You know, because if Ajaokuta comes on stream, it will mop up so many youths who are idling away, who are not doing anything. Many of them will get jobs.
Okay.
You know.
Also, the story about the Lagos and the death sentence.
The killer cop.
Yeah, the killer cop. The death sentence issued to the killer cop in Lagos yesterday. A lot of members of the NBA and lawyers have celebrated that judgment, you know, as a way to say or to warn, you know, those who have the likelihood of perpetrating such an evil deterred in the future.
Well, it's quite unfortunate that what happened, you know, because this young lady with the husband were coming from church, and then they encountered this tragedy, you know, quite unfortunate. And to me, I was saying, okay, why would this policeman, you know, do this? You know, I think because you have a gun doesn't mean that you must shoot. You know, if you ask somebody to stop and he doesn't stop, you can just take the person's plate number. From the plate number, you'll be able to track the person. Say, look, you beat traffic, you committed such and so offense, and the process, the legal process can be put can be implemented. But you know, simply because somebody refused to stop, according to you, you decide to shoot. You know, it's totally wrong. And you see, the policemen have done this again and again. You know, but the reason why this has come up in this manner is because, you see, the whole of the NBA, I think the young lady was a lawyer.
Behind
yes, they were behind. Say, look, this cannot just, I mean, fizzle out like that. This cannot be swept under the carpet.
But shouldn't the same energy be put on so many extrajudicial killings that have been happening in Nigeria?
Yes, unfortunately, we've been having so many. In fact, EndSARS was actually because of extrajudicial killings that have taken place. That EndSARS protest that we had in this country. So you see, in this, I think it's because the woman, I mean, was a lawyer, you know. But then, how many of such cases do you think NBA will handle? You know, I'm insisting that the police must put their house in order. You know, you must tell you'll be given this gun, you know, to protect the people, to protect the society. You must not be turning this gun against the ordinary Nigerian.
You know, this also brings to question the issue of the mental stability or the emotional intelligence of some of our police officers and some of our security personnel. Do you think that as an institution, we really pay attention to that?
Well, I think there are cases where you find policemen in uniform who are, you know, who are high, maybe drunk. You know, some of them are drunk, some of them have taken some, you know, I mean, I don't know whether it's marijuana or whatsoever. They're uniform. But when we're growing up, we were told that policemen, I mean, they embody discipline. You can't be drunken while you are in uniform. You can't smoke cigarette while you are in uniform.
All right.
You know? So I think that it's a lesson to other policemen to say that if you have got away with this thing again and again, a day will come when you never get away with it.
Sure.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Theophilus Abba, Director of Daily Trust Foundation, for joining us on Daybreak this morning and sharing your insight as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.